Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the characters in the play The Tempest. But before starting, let's discuss the objectives first. By the end of this session, you will be able to understand the various aspects in Prospero's character. You will be able to understand the innocence and tenderness in Miranda's character. And children, you will also be able to understand the loyalty and cheerfulness in Gonzalo's character. Now let's discuss the main character of the play, that is Prospero. Prospero's early character. See in your workbooks. Prospero was the Duke of Milan, who was known for his goodness and knowledge of the liberal arts. Children, liberal arts means art subjects such as literature, history, etc. So children, this Prospero, he was the Duke of Milan. He was known for his goodness. And children, he had a good knowledge of liberal arts. He had a good knowledge of literature, history, etc. Now what he did, he held his duty of governing state in the hands of his brother Antonio. He trusted his brother a lot. So he handed over the duty of governing state in the hands of his brother, and his brother's name is Antonio. He held himself aloof. Aloof means alone from the world, leading a life of meditation and study. Now children, what he did, he held himself aloof, means he kept himself alone from the public, from the world. So he wanted to live a life of meditation. He wanted to live in a life of meditation, and he wanted to study a lot. He put too much faith in his brother Antonio, whose character he did not judge correctly. So children, he actually had a lot of faith. He trusted his brother Antonio a lot, but he actually didn't know his character. He didn't judge the character of his brother correctly. Finding Prospero engrossed means involved or busy in books, Antonio seized means grasped the opportunity to acquire more power and succeeded in driving out Prospero from the state. Now children, finding Prospero, he found Prospero was involved in his books, involved in his study only. So Antonio, he seized that opportunity and he tried to acquire more power, and he actually succeeded in driving Prospero out from the state, out from Milan. See next children. He means Antonio was helped by the king of Naples, who helped Antonio in expelling this Prospero out from his dukedom, that was king of Naples, and with whom he had entered into a conspiracy. He conspired with king of Naples against Prospero. Thus Prospero paid the penalty for his indifference to his duties as the head of state. So, as he was busy in his books, he didn't pay any heed towards his dukedom. He didn't do his duty as he handed over the duty to his brother. So for that he had to pay a penalty. It was on account of his popularity with the general public that his enemies did not dare to destroy him. Now children, people loved him a lot. People loved him a lot, and for this was the reason only that his enemies, they did not dare to destroy him, because they knew that if they would try to destroy him, the public wouldn't leave them. The noble lord Gonzalo furnished him at the time of his banishment with the provisions and books that Prospero valued above his dukedom. Now, at the time when he was about to be expelled from his state, Gonzalo, the Lord Gonzalo, noble Gonzalo, he helped him. He provided him, he furnished him with the provisions, with some food, with clothes, water to drink, and the books which Prospero valued above his dukedom. He furnished him with all these things. Now children, see the next, his sympathetic nature. His sympathetic nature, see there, what is there? The age and experience of adversity did not in any way embitter Prospero. Children, embitter means to make someone feel bitter, means the adversity which he had experienced in his life did not make him bitter anyway. His love for Miranda, his daughter, consoled him in his darkest hours. Means in his darkest hours, whenever he was upset, his love for Miranda consoled him that time. and enabled him to endure the hardships. Children, endure means bear. So his love for Miranda helped him to endure the hardships. Prospero uses the terms of great endearment, means words of affection, for his daughter Miranda. He calls her a beloved darling, dear heart, a rich gift, a third of his own life. A third of his own life, children, means his life actually had three parts. One, his own life, one, his wife, and the third one is his daughter, Miranda. So he called her a third of his own life. Talking to Ferdinand, he lavishes. Lavishes means bestow something in generous and extravagant quantities. So children, while talking to Ferdinand, Prospero lavishes the highest praise upon his daughter. Means he praised his daughter a lot while talking to Ferdinand. And he says that no amount of praise can do justice to her. And he says that she is beyond praise. The happiest time of his life was when he found the love of Miranda and Ferdinand attaining its fulfillment. So he was very happy at the time when he saw the fulfillment of Miranda and Ferdinand's love. Now see children, Prospero's treatment of Ariel is also characterized by his tender feelings. So the way Prospero treats Ariel is also characterized by his delicate feelings. It is true that on one occasion he strongly rebuked Ariel. Obviously, it is true. We'll find that Prospero is rebuking Ariel on one occasion. But on the other hand, we'll see that he always uses words of affection and encouragement towards Ariel. We'll find on one hand he is rebuking Ariel, and on the other hand he is using the words of affection and encouragement towards Ariel, like my brave spirit, my delicate Ariel, my Ariel chick. See next, when he is about to liberate Ariel, liberate means free. When he is about to free Ariel, he says, "Why, that's my dainty Ariel, I shall miss thee." So dainty, children, here means delicately small and pretty. He calls Ariel dainty Ariel and says that he will miss him. Such a quality of tenderness makes Prospero a very lovable. So such quality of tenderness makes Prospero lovable. Now see the next one, his shrewdness on the island. Prospero shows his shrewdness. Children, shrewdness means quality of showing good powers of judgment. So Prospero shows his shrewdness in dealing with his people and spirits. Means on island we'll find him dealing with his people and spirit with shrewdness. In fact, he has become more vigilant. Vigilant means keeping a careful watch. Now he has become more vigilant than earlier, when he was the Duke of Milan. Means now we'll find him that he has become more vigilant than he was in Duke of Milan. He now takes care to protect himself against the possibility of being a victim. Now he is very careful. Now he takes care of everything. He takes care to protect himself against the possibility of being a victim. Means again he didn't want to become a victim. He has learned to deal with human nature. He has come to know from Caliban that no amount of education and training can cure a person of his inborn wickedness. Wickedness means quality of being evil or morally wrong. So children, from Caliban he has learned one thing, that no amount of education, no training can cure any person of his inborn wickedness. Means whatever wickedness is inborn, which is already inherited, this cannot be cured by education and training. In Milan, he gave his power into his brother's hands without thinking that any evil could come of it. So he trusted his brother a lot, and without thinking that any evil or any wrong would come out of it, he handed over the charge of his dukedom, of his state Milan, in the hands of his brother. Then the evil followed. Evil followed here means we know that what his brother did. He expelled his own brother Prospero from the state. Later on, he tests Ferdinand's sincerity before entrusting his daughter to him. So before handing over the hand of his daughter into Ferdinand's hand, he tests Ferdinand's sincerity. By now, Prospero has learned the ways of the world through adversity. Means through such a difficult situation he has gone through, that he has learned now the ways of the world. Now children, see the next heading is exercise of supernatural powers. Prospero doesn't use his supernatural powers for evil purposes. Children, he doesn't use the supernatural powers for any evil purpose or any wrong purpose. He makes use of his powers only to bring about good results. He just used his powers only to bring about good results. He causes the shipwreck to bring Ferdinand and Gonzalo as well as his enemies under his influence. Influence here means control. So he causes shipwreck just to bring Ferdinand and Gonzalo and other enemies, his enemies also, under his control. He leads Ferdinand to Miranda. He foils. Foils means prevents from succeeding. Now children, he leads Ferdinand toward Miranda and he foils the plot of the traitors. Traitors means one who betrays. And he tells them that he was aware of it. So he foils the plot of the traitors. He then also tells them later that he was already knowing of it. Similarly, he frustrates. Frustrates means prevents from progressing. Similarly, he frustrates the plot of Caliban, Stefano and Trinculo. He makes Antonio, Sebastian and Alonso repent, means regret. We'll find that he makes Antonio, Sebastian and Alonso repent for their sins, means what they have done. For that he make them repent. Finally, he regains his dukedom, and we'll see that finally he was able to regain his dukedom. His spirit of forgiveness. Forgiving nature is the most noble quality of Prospero. Having unlimited power to punish his enemies, he treats them with leniency. He believes that forgiveness, the rarer action, is in virtue than in vengeance. So vengeance means revenge. So children, what we have read here, that forgiving nature is the most noble quality we'll find in Prospero. Though he had all the powers to punish his enemies, yet he treats them with leniency. He believes that the rarer action is in virtue. Virtue means virtue of quality of forgiveness here. So the rarer action is in the quality of forgiveness than in revenge. Instead of satisfying his instinct for revenge, he is satisfied with remorse, means guilt and repentance on the part of his enemies. So instead of having a revenge, this Prospero, he feels satisfied that his enemies, they were regretting and they were in guilt. So he was satisfied with this only. He didn't want any revenge from them. When Ariel describes the distracted condition of Alonso and the other sinners, Prospero softens towards them. So when we'll find that Ariel describes the condition, the troublesome condition of his enemies, of Alonso and the other sinners, we'll find that Prospero, he grew soft towards them. In his last words, in the epilogue means concluding dialogue. In the last words, in the epilogue, Prospero speaks of mercy, prayer and forgiveness. Indeed, the spirit of forgiveness is the most striking quality of Prospero. So children, in the epilogue, when the character is concluding, he is concluding by talking to the audience. There we'll find Prospero, he is talking about mercy, prayer and forgiveness. And indeed, we'll find the spirit of forgiveness is the most striking quality of Prospero. So children, this was all about Prospero. Now let's move to the second main character of the play, that is Miranda. Miranda is one of the most charming feminine creation of Shakespeare. So children, Miranda is one of the most beautiful or most charming creation of Shakespeare. In the words of Ferdinand, Miranda is so perfect, so peerless. So children, Ferdinand calls Miranda so perfect, so peerless, created of very best, very creature's best. So she fascinates us by her natural charm and her simplicity, her trustfulness and her tenderness of disposition. Disposition means nature. So children, Miranda, she fascinates us by her natural charm, by her simplicity, by her trustfulness, how she trusts her father, and then her tenderness, her softness in her character, in her nature. Now see children, her physical beauty. Her beauty has been conveyed to us not through a catalogue of qualities of her face, features and figure, but through the effect which her image produces not only on her youthful lover, but also on elderly people. So children, her beauty is shown to us, is conveyed to us not only through the list of the qualities of her face, not only through the features or through her figure, but it is shown through us through the image which she produces on her lover and the impression which she produces on the elderly people. It is not only Ferdinand who thinks her to be a goddess when he sees her for the first time. Even Alonso, at the first sight of her, says, "Is she the goddess that hath served us and brought us thus together?" So children, not only Ferdinand thinks that she is goddess when he sees her at the first sight, but even Alonso also at the first sight he thinks her to be a goddess who served them and who has brought them together. Caliban goes almost poetic in his reference to the loveliness of Miranda. We'll find Caliban when he refers loveliness of Miranda, we'll find him going poetic. He goes poetic while referring to the loveliness of Miranda. Now see children, next point is her sympathy and tenderness. Her most conspicuous means clearly visible. Her most conspicuous quality is her sympathy. Having seen the shipwreck, she has suffered greatly. So children, we'll find the most visible quality in her is of sympathy. She has seen shipwreck. When she sees shipwreck, we'll see that she was suffering greatly. The cries of the ship's passengers did knock against her very heart. On hearing her father's narration of his banishment, her heart is filled with sorrow, thinking of his distress. Distress means suffering. So children, we'll find when she hears the shipwreck, when she hears the passengers' cries, and it actually touched her heart. And when she hears her father's narration of his banishment, means how he was expelled. So she felt so upset. She was filled with sorrow, and while thinking of the distress means while thinking her father's suffering. At Prospero's reference to the concern of Gonzalo, her heart goes out in sympathy towards him and she expresses the wish to see that noble soul. So children, we'll find when this Prospero refers, when he narrates her the concern of Gonzalo, how he helped them, how he furnished them with the provisions and the books. Her heart goes out of sympathy and she expresses her desire to meet that noble soul. Her deepest pity is aroused to see Ferdinand suffering under the burden of toil imposed upon him by Prospero. Toil, children, means work extremely hard. So she felt pity for Ferdinand when she sees him under the burden of work which was extremely hard and which was imposed on him by her father Prospero. She pleads with her father on behalf of Ferdinand also. Now see children, she requests her father on behalf of Ferdinand also to lessen his burden. Now see the next one, her innocence. Miranda is free from hypocrisy and deceit. Deceit means the act of deceiving someone. So she is free from all sort of hypocrisy and deceit. Unattained by the sophistication of civilization, her innocent nature knows no concealment. She declares her love for Ferdinand with a remarkable frankness, discarding the false modesty. Children means shyness. So children will find her that she is actually away from the sophistication of civilization. So her innocent nature doesn't know to conceal. So she directly declares her love for Ferdinand with a remarkable frankness and without any false shyness. Her natural simplicity is seen in the following words spoken by her to Ferdinand. So she naturally or simply speaks these words to Ferdinand, which depict her nature, the simplicity in her nature. See here. So she says, hence bashful cunning and prompt me, plain and holy innocence, I'm your wife if you will marry me. If not, I'll die your maid. So she directly calls him, she directly proposes him, and she says that if he accepts, then she will be his wife for life, and if he doesn't, then she will remain his maid. Okay. See the next one, children. Our next one is cheerful temperament. Cheerful temperament. See here, Miranda's character is marked by Prospero when she was a little child. Her smiles were a source of great comfort and strength to her father. When she learns from her father that she is a princess by birth, she doesn't feel any regret at having lost the royal life. On the contrary, she asks her father if there might not be a blessing in their adversity. So children, what she says, what we'll find here, that her father, he finds, when she was little, he finds a great source of comfort in her smile. Her smile provides strength to her father. And when she came to know that from her father that she is actually a princess by birth, then she doesn't feel any regret at having lost the royal life. She didn't regret that she has lost the royal life. On the contrary, she asked her father if this adversity was a blessing in disguise for them. Her love for Ferdinand. She falls in love with Ferdinand at first sight, which is quite natural because she had never seen a man with the exception of her father. So children, she falls in love with Ferdinand at first sight only, as she had never seen any person, any man except her father. Besides, Ferdinand is young and good looking, but her love, though sudden, is not a passing fancy. Fancy here means dream. So children, though this Ferdinand is young and good looking, but we'll find her love, though it is a sudden, but it is not a passing dream. It is not a fancy. It is not an illusion. Her love is deep, genuine and passionate. Because of her intense love for Ferdinand, she forgets certain injunctions of her father. Injunctions means commands. So children, though she loved him so much, because of the intense love for Ferdinand, she forgets certain commands of her father. For Ferdinand's sake, she would gladly undergo the toil and labor of carrying logs of wood. And we'll find her that she was ready for the toil or for the labor of carrying logs of wood only for the sake of Ferdinand. Now see, although her devotion to her father is great, yet she is not prejudiced, means biased, against Ferdinand by all the disparaging words that her father says about him. Disparaging means criticizing. So children, although she has a lot of love, lot of respect towards her father, yet she is not biased towards her father, yet she is not against Ferdinand when she listens when her father uses criticizing words for him. Her father is fully convinced of the depth and the lasting nature of her passion. Otherwise, he would never have offered her to Ferdinand in marriage. So her father already knew the depth of love she has for Ferdinand. Otherwise, he would have never offered her hand in marriage to Ferdinand. As an unseen observer of their courtship, he comments on their love, fair encounter of the two most rare affections. Heavens rain grace on that which breeds between them. So here he is an unseen observer. He was invisible to them, and he wishes God that they shower their blessing to this lovely couple. Now children, see, next character is Gonzalo. See his character, first heading under his character is his loyalty. Gonzalo is a lord at the court of King Alonso. His most striking qualities are his sympathetic nature and his loyalty to his king. When Alonso is sad at the supposed loss of his son, Gonzalo consoles him. So children, Gonzalo, he's a lord at the court of King Alonso, and his most striking quality is his sympathetic nature. So children, when we'll find Alonso is sad at the supposed loss the supposed death of his son Ferdinand, we'll find Gonzalo consoles him. Gonzalo consoles him at that time. See next, when Sebastian makes Alonso more miserable by saying that he himself is responsible for his misfortunes, Gonzalo rebukes him to set him on the right path. So children, when we'll find Sebastian blames Alonso for the death of his son Ferdinand, we'll find Gonzalo rebuking him for the same. His sympathetic nature is clearly revealed to us in the manner in which he tries to help Prospero at the time of the latter's banishment. So children, his sympathetic nature is revealed to us when we'll find him helping Prospero at the time of his banishment, when he was expelled from the state. He not only supplied ample provisions on the board, but also number of books which Prospero valued above his tutor. So children, he furnished Prospero at that time with so many provisions, ample provisions like food to eat, water to drink, and so on. And he also provides him books which he valued, which Prospero valued above tutor. Now see his another nature, his talkative nature. Gonzalo had a talkative disposition, means nature. So Gonzalo had a talkative nature. In Act 2, Scene 1, children, we'll see his talkative nature. Though the king doesn't want to listen to Gonzalo, yet he doesn't stop talking. So children, we'll find though the king, he is not actually interested in his talks, but still Gonzalo keeps on talking. You cramp these words into mine ears against the stomach of my sense, says King Alonso to Gonzalo. So children, we'll find King Alonso saying to Gonzalo that he is forcing him to listen to his talks when he has no inclination to it. But that doesn't dampen Gonzalo's zest for talk. Zest means an enjoyable, exciting quality. So that doesn't hamper Gonzalo's zest for talk. Now children, next is his cheerfulness. In the opening scene, when the ship was in danger of being wrecked, he talks in a lighter mood, deriving comfort from the boatswain who exercises his authority on the ship. So children, in the opening scene, when the ship was in danger and the ship was about to wreck, we find that he talks in a lighter mood and he tries to derive comfort from the boatswain who exercises authority on the ship. In the midst of danger, he feels hopeful on the ground that the boatswain has no drowning marks upon him and that he will die of hanging on land. So children, in the midst of the danger, we'll find him that he is still hopeful. He is hopeful. He says that boatswain has no drowning marks upon him. So this means that this boatswain will not die of drowning. He'll die of hanging on land, and it ultimately saves them also. So children, this was all about characters. Today we have done 3 characters. So your homework is revise all these 3 characters. Thank you so much, children.